Welcome to It's Good to Be the King, a 13-part retrospective into the career of one Melvin James Kaminsky, aka the legendary Mel Brooks. We'll be covering his full directorial filmography, as well as a couple ancillary Brooks projects from his Oscar-winning 1967 film, The Producers, through to the 2005 movie musical, The Producers. Today, we're taking a trip out west for one of Brooks' most beloved films, and the first of two comedy classics he released in 1974, which is crazy to think on even this many years later, Blazing Saddles. And this one, of course, is written by Brooks himself alongside Richard Pryor, Andrew Bergman, Norman Steinberg, and Alan Uger, and starring Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. Blazing Saddles takes direct aim at the Western genre and, in the process, Hollywood conventions in general. And joining me today to dig into all of this is someone who has a ton of experience breaking down a specific genre. It's Jennifer Howell of Every Rom-Com. Welcome to the show.
Hi, glad to be back. We talked about Moulin Rouge before, and that was so
We
much
did.
fun. So
It's
this
so
is a
fun.
little bit different, but I'm real happy to be here.
Yeah, exactly. So tell people a little bit about who you are and everything you have going on, and about Every Rom-Com.
Okay, so I started every rom-com. I actually don't even remember how long ago now. Maybe 2022, 2021. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus lately because I'm dealing with long COVID, so that makes me kind of tired, and I have some problems now and again, with energy. But hopefully, we'll be coming back real soon with some more episodes. The podcast is basically our tagline is the podcast that has fun taking romantic comedies seriously. And that means a lot to me because I think it's a genre that often gets dismissed by people, as being lightweight or stupid or cliched, or I hear it called unrealistic a lot, which is really funny to me because sci-fi exists and
Right.
horror exists and action exists. So I don't know, but I love the genre. We've covered so many different kinds of movies on the podcast, and I hope to continue covering so many more. And we have some great guests on the show as well to discuss these movies with us. So yeah, I love it. It's at everyromcom.com if you want to take a look, or you can find it pretty much on most podcast platforms. Every rom-com. Yeah.
Awesome. Definitely think rom-coms as a genre are are having a stronger resurgence than westerns. Kind of bringing us a step closer to this. That genre
Yeah.
is, I think, really sort of TV only at this point, if anything,
Hmm.
with like the Yellowstone franchise and all of that. Um, I guess leading us gently into Blazing Saddles, what is your sort of history with Mel Brooks as a filmmaker, and what was your first introduction to his work? I'd say the closest he's made to a rom-com is like Life Stinks is kind of a rom-com, maybe.
Haven't seen that one in a long time. I did
Yeah, I
not
know.
rewatch it. So yeah, no, I watch a lot of things other than I watch pretty much every genre.
Yeah,
So that's one thing to know about me is I love movies in every genre. I'm not rom-com specific. So I don't remember a time when I hadn't seen a Mel Brooks movie. That's what I'm going to say first of all. Like I grew up on this stuff. Like when you have a Gen X childhood, there's like one TV in the house, or maybe there's two, but there's only one that has a VCR. And, like, in our house, like, you had to watch stuff with your parents or you didn't watch TV, right? And my dad loved Mel Brooks, and my dad loved the Zucker brothers. He loved he loved the Blues Brothers. He loved all kinds of comedy movies. So I grew up on, like, R-rated comedies. Um, I was talking to you when we were talking about doing this episode. I think I mentioned that I knew the words to the Lily Von Stroop song, I'm Tired,
yes.
at least by the time I was 8, and I was like performing it for my parents. I had no idea what most of it meant, right? But I was doing the German accent, everything. Oh my God. Yeah. And the other thing though, the interesting thing though is I've thought of myself as a Mel Brooks fan, but then when I really looked at what I've seen of his filmography, I'm kind of a fan of the 3 movies, the big ones, Producers, Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein, but I've seen them so many times,
Hmm.
and I know them so well that I feel like I'm this huge Mel Brooks fan. And preparing for this episode, I actually did watch some of the ones I've been missing. Like I watched 12 Chairs, which I really liked actually.
Yeah,
I
me too.
watched High Anxiety, which I'd never seen before, and I watched History of the World Part 1, which I have to admit I did not like.
It's
I
very
had tried
vignette-y. It's just like a bunch of sketches, thin least kind of strung
It's
together
just
in a lot of ways.
the humor
Yeah.
level was not the same for me. But anyway, I think but I've always been a Mel Brooks fan, but in a very, I guess, limited way, and I'm starting to I'm starting to watch a few more of his things. I'm about halfway through Dracula Dead and loving it right now. And that one's going better than I thought it would. I
Yeah.
know David Rosen from the Piecing It Together pod loves that movie, so I've been meaning to watch that ever since he recommended it. So
I think when I get to that film, I think he's the one I have in my spreadsheet listed because I know
yeah,
because he's been
definitely.
very vocal about his love for that film, and I was like, well, that's an easy one to slot right in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no,
Yeah, when we did he came on my podcast and he did
uh,
Once Bitten, which is another vampire comedy,
I grew up
and
with Once Bitten too.
he basically told me that it was basically the only vampire movie he had seen other than Once Bitten was Dracula Dead and Loving It. Like, he hadn't really seen the big vampire movies at that point. I think he has now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah, Once Bitten with not only Jim Carrey but also Cleveland Little.
Cleavon Little. Yep.
Yeah, so there
That's
you
right.
go. There's a connective tissue. It's
All
it's it,
connecting.
it's interesting too that the three Mel Brooks that you've seen are also the three Gene Wilder collaborations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think I think Wilder and him work really well together. I think
I
their
think so
minds
too.
meld well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is it about that? And I think I asked my guest this for the producers when we covered that. What is it about the two of them that is so complementary?
I wish I knew. I'm sorry. I did, I couldn't tell you. I think when I was looking into trying to figure out why these three movies and not the others, I think part of it was just Brooks was collaborating with a lot of people on
Hmm.
these. And like History of the World, he wasn't as much, for example.
Yeah,
Some of his later ones, he wasn't as much. I don't know, but Gene Wilder also has sort of a softness and a slyness about him, I think. Maybe he slows some of the scenes down. I'm not sure. But he can be quite frenetic, so it's hard to say.
yeah,
It's hard to say.
yeah. I think what's interesting about Gene Wilder as a performer, and I think it's encapsulated in his Willy Wonka, is that he can go really bonkers and then still ground it and still have
Mm,
sort of a warmth and a heart to it at the same time.
yeah.
And you're like, how did he do that? Where 2 seconds ago he was flipping out on this boat, and now he's like, you have that heartwarming conclusion to Willy Wonka. Or even in this movie, there's this warmth and compassion that he brings to the Waco kid and the relationship, the friendship with him and Bart, which I think is
Yeah.
so central to the endurance of this movie.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, did you happen to see, I think it was in the documentary on Mel Brooks, the 99-Year-Old Man
Yeah, yeah,
documentary?
yeah.
So apparently Brooks had wanted to cast this older actor who was known as kind of an alcoholic, and he actually did cast him as the Waco Kid. And the guy shows up to set the first day and vomits all over the place. And then he's like, "Oh." He realized he can't have this guy on the show, on the movie, right? And he's like, and he said he learned the lesson: if you want a guy to play an alcoholic, don't hire an alcoholic.
Right.
And because Gene Wilder was already familiar with the script, he was able to come on in, and they didn't really lose any shooting time. And he just, like, I can't imagine this movie without Gene Wilder, but it was almost without Gene Wilder,
I
or it could
know.
have been.
Yeah, I think it was Gig Young was the name of the actor, and it's almost like
That sounds right.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I think I feel like I've heard that story told by Brooks at one point, and they're like, "Wow, this guy's like." That there was a moment where they're like, "Oh, he's very method in in his like dedication to the role," and then, yeah, the realization that oh, that's not going to work. But yeah, the fact that this and Young Frankenstein were made so close together and released the same year is pretty wild. Like, can you? Like the fact that those two, I would say, are sort of arguably his most critically acclaimed, the most recognized within the industry, I think is really incredible.
And they were writing Young Frankenstein on the set too, like Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks. So it's like it was all coming together at this very specific moment. I mean, that's great. Yeah, like I think, and to me, like Young Frankenstein to me is his best movie. I think like overall it's the best movie, like the best cinematography, like overall production. But Blazing
Hmm.
Saddles to me is the funniest, which is why I wanted to be on this episode. That and my Lily Von Stupp, history. But yeah.
That's a great connection. What do you? One thing that I think it's not necessarily even speaking to the quality of the film, but with comedies especially, I think it's always interesting to sort of look at that question like, could this be made today? Could this be made today? Because even Mel Brooks is like, this wouldn't be able to happen, mostly because of the language used. I mean, I think
Yeah.
if it were to happen, it would kind of just inherently have to be softer already, just in order to just have to get
And
made.
it wouldn't be what it is if it were softer. And it's
Yeah,
like, I can't remember who said this, but I think somebody was quoted as saying it could barely be made in 1974, but you needed this like perfect storm of the right creator and the right writers and the right actors to bring it together. I mean, like one little thing could go off, one level could be a little wrong, and it would just fall apart. And it would be more offensive than it is, funny and good-hearted. Um, yeah, like, I mean, are we digging into the problematic aspects? Because
sure,
like
let's do it.
yeah, I mean, the use of the N word is obviously the big one,
Yeah,
right? And like
for
that's the
sure.
one that gets talked about the most. But in addition to that, you have like the use of the F slur for gay people, some
Hmm.
stereotypical gay behaviors in there. Mongo is a character altogether.
Yeah,
And this never gets talked about really much, but like I mean, Mel Brooks has a lot of sexism in his movies. He's
yeah,
got both in Producers and Blazing Saddles, and in some of his other movies, there's a whole character in Blazing Saddles that's just a secretary with big boobs that are almost all the way out,
yeah.
and the governor is like practically nuzzling them. So it's like that could be made today, but some of the other stuff could not be made today. Sexism is eternal, man.
The the Native American representation, I think, or
Well,
lack
yeah,
thereof, I
yeah,
think is
yeah.
another one. Yeah,
But weirdly, okay, Mel Brooks does like a red face thing, which should be terribly offensive, but
hmm,
weirdly the fact that he speaks Yiddish while he's doing it somehow like completely makes it seem not offensive. He's like a
yeah,
random Yiddish Native American chief character.
yeah. He reimagines the Native Americans, I guess, for Blazing Saddles. So it's almost like half of a free pass.
Now that
Yeah,
I've studied German, I understood a lot of the Yiddish too. So yeah.
it's also too. This is not like I have to imagine some of that was Richard Pryor's influence. Some of that was, some of the other writers he's working with. Because for the most part, Mel Brooks's comedies are they don't go this hard. Like I think all of his other movies are PG-13 ish, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Well, the things I read about it was, first of all, I mean, it wasn't his original script for in the first, like it was brought to him and then he got a team of writers on it, like you said with Richard Pryor. Um, but also since it was a Western, they thought it wasn't gonna like really sell much. And so they're just like, we're just gonna throw everything at it and do everything we ever wanted to do and just like push it. And so they did. And this is what we ended up with. Like it is like there's a laugh like every few seconds.
Yeah,
And I mean humor is different. Not everybody's gonna find it funny. Okay, like but I think most people do find it funny or find something funny in Blazing Saddles because there's just so many jokes per capita and there's background stuff that's a joke. There's stuff you can notice on your like 15th viewing. And like one of the things I love about it too is such a mixture of low and high humor because you've got
yeah,
everything from a farting scene, like fart jokes, to like references to like I don't know, what is it? Was there a Nietzsche reference in there somewhere? And like cinema references that you'd really have to know cinema to understand.
yeah,
Like it's wild. Like and the more westerns you watch, the more you will understand this
for
movie.
sure.
Like it just gets richer. You'll be watching some old western and you're like what? Like I saw that first in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, I think as a kid, because this isn't one that I grew up with as much, probably because my parents were like, maybe not, maybe that one we'll keep away." Because I grew up with Young Frankenstein, obviously Spaceballs, and we're talking about Robin Hood Men in Tights and things like that a lot. Even Dracula Dead Loving It came out when I was still on the younger side. But like this, even before I saw this movie, it I knew about the farting scene, the campfire scene with the beans, and like because that was, I think, groundbreaking in its own way because flatulence had
Which
never
is
been
weird.
so prominent in a major movie like that before.
That is so funny to me. The idea that that was like a controversial scene that the studio didn't
Yeah,
like too. I'm just like, it's just farting. It's like it's in everything now. Like it's like what?
and Mel Brooks was just playing it, from what I read, totally cool the whole time. You need to cut this out. You need to cut this out. And he's like, sure, sure, sure. But he had final cut, so he just did what he wanted. Which
Yeah.
you gotta admire that. I think, and I do think that's part of why this movie has endured the way that it has, is that it goes for the jugular with those with some of those jokes, and it there's no topic that it seems unafraid to touch on. And I think a lot of it has some of it has not aged well, but like beneath it all, there's still, as we're saying, this strong kind of cohesiveness with the story, with the voice behind it. I think one of the things that's really interesting is that this is, in a lot of ways, the movie that sort of helped shape the filmmaker that Mel Brooks was a lot of the rest of his career, because it was the most directly a genre parody, which we would get from
Mm.
him a lot more going forward. It
Mhm.
was the most directly meta, with all the references to like the whole like the
The
whole
whole
like
end
third
scene,
act
yeah.
basically, yeah. That whole like last 15-20 minutes gets super meta, but even early in the movie, there's like
Yeah.
the characters talking to the breaking the fourth wall. Why am I
Yeah.
talking to
"Why am I
you?
asking you?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Before we get off of the offensive aspects, though, or
Please.
could it be made today, I just wanna put in that, like, because I think I kind of scooted past it. The use of the N-word, right? I think the main reason it works is it's not there to be shocking or offensive so much as it's there to support the fact that this is a movie about racism.
Mhm.
Like Mel Brooks said that racial prejudice, he called it the engine that drives the movie. Like it is about the racism that a black sheriff is facing when he's going into this white frontier town. And the movie is trying to show how stupid racism is and how, he even says he calls the townsfolk morons in one of those scenes, right? Like, it's just showing, like, that racism is stupid, the people who are supporting racism are stupid, and we are rooting for the black sheriff and Black Bart and his, the Waco kid who's accepting of him. Those are our people we are on the side of. So I think, like, I'm personally, like, but I'm a white woman, so, like, it's not really my place necessarily, but for me, I tend to be favor language being used if it's authentic to a story, but I think this is even more acceptable in a lot of ways than what you would see in Quentin Tarantino, because
Mhm.
I think sometimes Quentin Tarantino is using it more as like an in your face kind of shocking element, whereas
Yes.
I really don't feel like that's what it's being used for here. I really feel like it's just there to support a narrative and to be against racism. So, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a difference, I think.
As soon as you brought up that, I was thinking of the Waco Kids like that moment with the you got to remember, these are just simple farmers, people of the land, the common clay of the New West, morons. Where Cleavon Little,
Yeah.
that with a genuine reaction from him, and I think makes that moment one of the standout moments of the film. But yeah, you're right. Like all of the characters that are racist are not only villains but completely incompetent, like buffoons. And
Yeah.
the black man at the center is not only like smart and charming but fully capable. Like he's the only person that kind of knows what they're doing for the whole film basically. um
Yeah.
and so it doesn't really sup- like bear out any of the stereotypes that the racist characters in the film would have towards Black Bart, with exception of with exception of the one with Lily Venstrom. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even that, like, hey, it's the one. It's like a good stereotype, I guess. But
And
yes,
even though, like, Richard Pryor was originally gonna be Black Bart, but the studio wasn't okay with him, but Cleavon Little, like, is also this Broadway actor when he comes in. He's a
yeah,
serious actor. So, like, I think he brings a certain gravitas too, like, even when he's being funny to the role, you know?
I think so too. I think so too. Yeah, and I yeah, I guess we should talk about the performances, and then we'll come back, center back around on the parody, because I do think Cleavon Little, like, it's hard to picture someone else in this role, just because he does. I feel like Richard Pryor just inherently has that sort of edge, and Cleavon Little,
Mm,
part of what makes Bart such a fun character to watch is that he can kind of maneuver his way around, like when he escapes being hung basically right after he arrives in town, and he pulls the gun on himself, and the way he's
my
sort of
god.
playing both
Yeah.
characters simultaneously.
Yeah, he's playing somebody holding him up and, like, sort of a stereotype of, like, sort of more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sort of a submissive black
Yeah,
character. Like he's playing
yeah,
two stereotypes of black characters that are not him. But I think that's so interesting because it's like the townspeople, once he's being these stereotypes, they're comfortable with him and they're like, oh, we got to save this like
save that poor
this one
man.
black guy from the other bad black guy. But when he's just himself and he's just a normal guy, they're like, we hate you.
Yeah,
It's almost like very like subversive and clever on a certain level, like the way it plays with identity and what is an acceptable identity for a black man
yeah,
to have
absolutely,
in the eyes of the town. Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's great performance, like you said, like the way he can shift persona. And when he sings, oh my God, one of my favorites though is like at the beginning when he tricks the white bosses into performing Camptown Ladies by pretending they don't know like the stereotypical songs like black people are supposed to sing, and they
Yeah,
do "I Get a Kick Out of You."
I love that.
I love that. He's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and he has that same level of poise throughout it, where there's moments in this movie where it kind of turns into a Looney Tune cartoon,
Yeah,
like with a Candy Graham for
literally at one
Mongo.
point.
I was like,
Yeah.
every time I watch this movie, I forget about that moment. I'm like, oh, so he's just straight up Bugs Bunnying it now at this point in the best
Yeah.
possible way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love. I think he brings a lot to this character, and it's a cast that it's easy to kind of get lost in because it's such a deep bench, especially with Gene Wilder, who we sort of already touched on, but brings that, like I said, that sense of warmth where you feel like immediately these guys are friends and you buy it, and they have such natural chemistry considering
Oh,
that
yeah.
Gene Wilder came in relatively late on the film. I think is it's crazy that wasn't originally planned that way.
Yeah. I don't Mel Brooks is right about a lot of things, but he almost got that casting wrong. Like
Yeah,
the universe outsmarted him.
yeah, yeah. Of course, corrected a little bit. I think um, the supporting cast, of course, Harvey Korman. I think is his character is trying to get an Oscar nomination, which I think is why that scene is so funny. And then, of course, he has one of my favorite moments in the film with the rustlers, cutthroats, murderers, bounty hunters, that whole thing, muggers, buckaroos, like the way he delivers that. So fun, so funny. Is there a specific Hedley Lamar moment in this movie that stands out for you?
My family, and I don't know why, we would always do the Froggy Love Daddy, Daddy Love Froggy thing where he's got the toy frog in the bathtub, which I can't even imagine that was actually in the script. I think Harvey Korman was probably just messing around because I heard he improv some of the stuff, and I would bet that that's him improvising. I don't
Yeah,
know, but I would bet. Like he's just like, Froggy Love Daddy, Daddy Love Froggy, Ribbit. Ribbit. We quoted it. We had lots of random lines from this movie that we would just quote around the house.
yeah,
It's very weird. Hedley Lamar, who is always being called Hetty Lamar after the famous actress, classic movie actress, who sued them,
right,
apparently,
right.
and they settled for a couple $1,000s. I mean,
And there's
why
a
not?
joke in the
Give
movie,
Hetty Lamar some money. I don't know.
and there's a joke in the movie about Hedley. I think it's the Mel Brooks character, the governor, who's like, "It's 1874. You can sue her." Uh,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and then that ended up bearing like an actual lawsuit. It's so funny. So of course, like I said, Hedley Lamar is at one point. Now you men will only be risking your lives, whilst I will be risking an almost certain Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, which didn't happen, which was a
No.
bummer. However, the late great Madeline Kahn did get
Yeah.
a Best Supporting
Yeah.
Actress nomination.
Very
Speak
deserved. Very
speak
deserved.
speak to that performance and how much it means to you, because she was another one that like every time you see her in anything, you're like, is this the coolest, like best, most gorgeous and funniest person ever? Because holy crap.
Yeah, she's amazing. Like the funny thing is too, like I am not sure if I'd ever seen a Marlene Dietrich movie before I watched Blazing Saddles, but somehow Marlene Dietrich was just sort of one of those people you knew about at that
Yeah.
time. Like I think less so these days, but like I actually did a deep dive and went and watched a bunch of Marlene Dietrich movies in the lead up to this podcast just because I wanted to see like some of the inspirations. I watched her in Destry Rides Again. Have you seen that one?
Mm-mm, no.
I highly recommend anybody watch Destry Rides Again. It's got Jimmy Stewart and Marlena Dietrich. It's a Western comedy from the great year of 1939.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard that that is like the main inspiration, you know, for her character in this movie. Although Marlena Dietrich played so many different like singers and women of sort of ill repute. She did a bunch of great, beautiful movies with Joseph von Sternberg. So I'm sorry, I'm a little far afield, but I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
the
yeah. No, it's all
inspiration.
good.
Like, and I think this movie gets even better once you see the Marlena Dietrich performances that kind of inspired it. And Dietrich, of course, was like in the 60s and 70s, she was still giving concerts. So she was very much in the zeitgeist when this
Yeah.
movie came out. I wish I could have found like what she thought about this movie, but I couldn't find any quote or evidence that she saw it or commented on it. But I mean, it's a great tribute.
It is.
Madeline Kahn's delivery, her look, her singing. Like she was a great singer, apparently. I mean, you can hear that a little bit in Young Frankenstein. Her attitude, like I loved that I'm tired performance so much when I was a kid. Obviously, I learned it. Like I was just like this little kid. It's like I'm tired, sick and tired of love. I've had my fill of love from below and above. Did I know what was happening? No. And the one where she's like, they're always coming and going and
That's the one I was
going
thinking
and
of. Yeah.
coming and always too soon. Like the day that I figured out what that meant and I thought back on my childhood, I was like, what the like I think my parents told me not to sing it like in public, like to
Right.
not sing, and I didn't know why. So I probably didn't, but like there I was, like 8 years old, singing this song. I swear to God, like
That's funny.
her whole performance is so great, though. The way she does her R's is W's, like it's two, or oh, a wet walls, how
How
romantic. But
romantic.
you
Yeah.
watch Marlena Dietrich movies, and she kind of sounds a little bit like that. It's just
Yeah.
like a step up, just a tiny nudge up on the volume.
Yeah. No,
I don't
I
know.
she's yeah. It's one of those lightning in a bottle things. Her performance in this movie, you're just like, I don't know that they could have done that any better. Like my only complaint is that I wish there was more of her in this movie because she's
Mm.
in a section of it and then is kind of thereafter,
You
but
just,
not as
yeah,
prominent. Yeah.
you just see her like in the scene in the Old West fight where she's like singing with the Nazis, like she's
Yeah.
entertaining them. Like, yeah, which
Yeah.
she was not a Nazi, by the way, everybody.
No.
She was like anti-Nazi, but in this movie, German, you get to be a Nazi. So there you
It
go.
it was also just one of those great partnerships, like the Gene Wilder one with Mel Brooks,
Mm.
where it's just like, oh, he made 3 movies with him. He should have made 6. Because Madeline Kahn after this is in Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, History of the World Part 1. She has like a real run of Mel Brooks performances, and I think is really fun in all of them. Obviously, this one kind of gives her the kind of breakthrough moments comedically
Yeah.
to stand out. But yeah, I think she's just so much fun in this. Um,
Yeah, like she's great. I would like to watch more movies more in depth in her career. I did
Same.
see Paper Moon this last year, which was amazing. Like she doesn't have as big a role in that either, but she was good in what she did. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I remember growing up also watching her in Clue, and you're just like,
yeah,
"Oh my gosh, where was the nomination for that?" Flames,
yeah.
flames on the side of my face.
When you think
Ah,
of all these wonderful people Mel Brooks has worked with, and so many of them died so young too.
I
Like
know.
Cleavon Little died young as well. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
sad. Like he's had
it
to
is.
outlive all these really talented people.
I know. I know. It's a real bummer to go back and watch like anything from I think pre pre Spaceballs, pretty much a lot of the people from those films are no longer with us, and this one especially is an example of that. Um let's see, other performances. Slim Pickens as Taggart, David Huddleston as Olson Johnson on Rock Ridge. You also get a cameo from Count Basie of all people,
Oh
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
a little bit of
No,
Dom
that use
DeLuise.
of the music that you think it's going to be non-diegetic, and then all of a sudden this
Yes,
great jazz music is diegetic. Bart is like riding into the scene with a Gucci saddlebag in the middle of the desert, jazz music playing, and then all of a sudden there's Count Basie, I don't know, and his band just playing, and it's
yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Anytime, and I feel like that is this movie has so many of those types of jokes where I could see people seeing it now and being like, "Oh, that joke, that
Yeah,
kind of
like,
thing.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that a million times." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't think you had seen it a million times when this came out."
Yeah, I'm trying to think what precedents there would have been, like, I'm thinking,
Yeah,
like, maybe Monty Python was making the sketch comedy before that, but, like,
yeah.
Holy Grail didn't come out until the next year. So, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of the older comedies and what fourth wall breaking there was and what kind of yeah, playing with things there was.
But I think now we're kind of built back around to the performance that Mel Brooks gives in this movie, like I was saying earlier, with the sense of parody and the meta commentary. Mel Brooks in here playing Governor Lepetomaine, all very feels very much in keeping with like President Scrooge from Spaceballs or things like that. Like it, you start to see kind of moves that he makes in this one where it's like they're revisiting versions of that in subsequent
Yeah,
Mel Brooks
yeah,
movies. How do you think this movie shaped his career going forward? Because like I said, this is a
yeah,
parody of the Western genre. Then we get a parody of literally Frankenstein, but also Universal monster movies, silent movies, Hitchcock movies, historical epics, obviously sci-fi and the Star Wars genre, Star Wars specifically, Robin Hood, Dracula. Like it started
yeah.
becomes the direction that he goes down a lot.
I kinda wish he hadn't totally gone in that direction, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, when I watched The 12 Chairs, I thought he did a really great job doing something different. Like, it's not the laugh a minute thing that this is, but it had a lot of, like it had some meaning to it and some, like, a lot of heart. And I think in some of the later parodies, like he said, racial prejudice is the engine that drives this movie, right? So what is the engine driving some of the later movies?
Hmm.
Like, Young Frankenstein, I think, survives because it's got well, he's with Gene Wilder on it, so I think that helps, but then also, like, the cinematography, the, like, attention to the detail of
Yeah,
getting it just right, like the original Frankenstein movie, like, really brings that up a level, and the
I
story
agree.
itself is such a classic story, but, like, some of the later stories didn't work as well for me, I don't
Yeah.
know, and I don't know what it is exactly. Like, High Anxiety, I think he didn't push it far enough, really. I watched that recently, and I've watched a lot of Hitchcock, and I see some of the places where he's doing Hitchcock, but, like, he didn't stylistically, he didn't go as far as he did with Young Frankenstein, for
Yeah.
example. And I think
No.
if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna try to ape a style, you gotta really do it. You know what
Mm,
I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe he didn't have the budget to really do Hitchcock, I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think? Like
I mean, I'm a long time forever Spaceballs stan, but I think
okay,
from a
okay.
from a craft perspective, I do think Young Frankenstein is the pinnacle of his filmography. Yeah, I mean I sort of agree. I think that there is some like you were saying, Lou sort of alluding to earlier with History of the World Part One, where it's just kind of meandering, and that has a lot of sort of misogynistic jokes in it as well. There's again another like very busty character that's just kind of there for Mel Brooks himself to leer at.
Yeah.
Um, it's good
I
to be
mean,
the
there's a
king.
lot of busty characters from the Lear in that one. I'm
Yes.
just like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lady, there are her boobs. Like, I'm just like, okay. I
I
mean,
think
to be fair, Blazing Saddles, it's almost the same thing, but like
yeah,
Lily Von Strupp has a little more to do. And then, oh, and there's also Harriet Johnson among the townsfolk in Blazing Saddles. She doesn't have a ton to do in the movie, but she makes some of the greatest facial expressions. And she has that one scene where she reads her telegram,
yeah.
which is really funny.
I think you also as it goes along too, I don't know if this was an ego thing, if it was the studio or whatever it was, but you saw Mel Brooks sort of putting himself front and center more
Mm.
too. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's in the 12 chairs, but it's a smallish role. Well, no, actually, no, it's a pretty kind of big role in that.
But
Um,
it's not dominating
uh,
the film in any
but
sense.
it's
Like, I
yeah,
think History of the World, he's dominating the film a little
History of the
more.
World. He's the lead. High Anxiety. He's the
Yeah.
lead. Like a lot of them,
Yeah.
he is. He is, if not the main character, a constant presence throughout, as opposed to a cameo here or there.
Yeah,
So I
and it
think
can be
that's
hard to
yeah,
direct yourself. So, I mean,
I would
like, just
imagine so.
it's always adding an extra level of difficulty when you do that.
For sure, for sure. So I think that's also another way this one kind of shaped his career is that he himself found himself more the face of his own projects. And that's maybe why we lost Gene Wilder sort of front and center a little bit. I don't know what the full
Hmm.
story is there, but to have like two of the most beloved comedies of all time come out the same year, like how do you even do
Yeah.
that?
They were on fire, man. They had the company assembled, they had the people together, like, a lot of the same people involved in these things, so, yeah.
Does that
I
make
mean, I
you
guess Young
wish?
Frankenstein does have
Yeah,
some other cast members, but
it
does
does.
it what were you gonna
Yeah,
say?
it does that make you wish they had kind of kept that repertory crew together and just made more movies post Young Frankenstein, Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn, and an assortment of other key people, and just kind of kept that going?
Maybe. I can't help thinking the writing is part of the what's going on, though. I can't help thinking he needed some of the same writers, and I don't know if he used these same writers again.
Yeah,
I don't know. And you need a reason for a project, like I was saying, like racism or, aping the Universal horror movies. You need a clear reason, and I think sometimes he had it and sometimes it got a little muddled.
yeah,
But I don't know. I still I'm gonna go and watch some more of the Mel Brooks that I haven't rewatched in a while that I missed out on. But yeah, like for me the level just changes at
yeah,
after Young Frankenstein a little bit.
I think
And I
so.
don't know what happened. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's an interesting era of his career to look back at. And
It
also
can also be the young and scrappy thing too.
I
When you
was
start out and you're young and scrappy, sometimes people make their best films, like good old Kevin Smith up there.
yeah, there you go. I was just about to note like how kind of he stuck to his guns with like, no, this is what we're doing. Like that sort of like stubbornness when it came to what kind of material he wanted to cover in this movie. And
Mm,
even though he was getting all this pushback, he was just like, "Well, I'm gonna," there's in my research I came across like at one point he was just like, put everything you go, whatever you want to say, put it in there. We might never hear from us again after this, so let's just go for it. And I think that's the energy that audiences and fans have responded to over the years. Is that it feels like a movie that isn't holding anything back. It isn't
yeah,
like that it does feel like a lot of creative voices trying to say something, but also going for it without any kind of fear of repercussion or anything like that. I think, and it's also is an interesting film to look at in today's context, where every comedian or comedians, some of them are very vocal about, oh, I'm scared of getting canceled because they're just relying on kind of outdated forms of comedy to see a movie that, yes, in some ways has aged poorly just by the virtue of it being 50 years old, and in other ways still has a point to make and
yeah.
does so in a very kind of deft way.
I mean, that's the key. Like they're punching up in this
Yeah.
movie for the most part, not all the time. Like I said about the gay community is the part that I watch now, and I'm the most like, I don't know.
You see that in so many comedies, like from the 90s even. Yeah.
But yeah, just to give context for that though, like the scene where they break the fourth wall, where the Western fight goes into the studio lot, and then they break into the Busby Berkeley like dance number that's going on, and there's all these guys in top hats singing the song "The French Mistake," which itself sounds like it's alluding to gay sex. The director is like yelling the F slur at them.
Yeah.
And they're hissing like like that's like something the gay people do. No. And
Which is
but
also in the
then like
producers,
he
because that character,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
producers, we talked, my guest and I talked about that a little bit too. The producers has its own issues with the gay community. But yeah,
But then he softens it a little bit because one of the Old West guys hooks up like he's fighting with one of the gay dancers, and then they go behind a curtain and they come out and they're like got their arms around each other and they're setting up a date with each other. So it's like
yeah,
yes, like he's sort of positive, but
yeah,
also I don't know, like very stereotypical. I really wonder what Mel Brooks's relationship with gay people really was because like
yeah,
he lived in New York, he worked probably with a lot of people who must have been gay or at least had close relationships with people who are gay. What is his deal? I can't figure it out.
yeah. It's hard to sometimes parse out, well, what is the actual perspective of the creator and
Yeah.
what is them just kind of falling into like, oh, well, this is the kind of thing that gets laughs at that time or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to sort of identify that. Um, we talked about the fourth wall breaking again, which I love.
Oh
So
my
much of
god.
it in this. We have to talk about the ending where
Yeah.
it every time, like, I know that that ending is coming, but I always forget that they're just in the middle of a sequence, and then it just pulls back to reveal that they're
Mhm.
on a set and shifts over to the Busby Berkeley film set. It's
But it's so weird because,
yeah,
like, all the actors that you see now are actors in a movie, but some of them are still their characters at the
yeah,
same time. Like, Harvey Korman is, like, still Hedley Lamarr in a certain sense because he says, like, "Drive me off of this picture" to a taxi driver, but then he goes to the movie to watch Blazing Saddles in the theater, and he's there and he sees Bart come to the same theater. He's like, "Oh, and then he goes out in front of the theater and interacts with him like he's still Hedley Lamarr. So
yeah.
it's like, which is it? Are you an actor or are you the character? And it's like, and then they have their confrontation and they kill Hedley Lamarr, and then Bart and frickin'
Let's just
Waco
see
Kid
how
go
this
into the
movie
theater and
ends.
they're watching themselves. But they're watching themselves back in the Old West. But the Waco Kid has some popcorn in the Old West now. Sorry, I gotta do the whole thing because it
Yeah,
drives me
no,
crazy.
please.
And then they leave the town on the horses in the movie, but presumably they're still watching themselves in the movie. But then they take the horses out and then they leave the horses and they get driven off in a car.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is even going on? What is reality? I've never really thought about it before setting up for this podcast. Like, I just watched it and accepted it, but now I'm just like, where is the wall anymore? Where are we? Who is real?
Yeah. No, I love
Sorry,
that.
I hope I didn't step on anything you wanted to say. I'm
No,
just
no,
like,
absolutely. I love all of it. This is again, I mentioned my love of Spaceballs. This feels like a direct ancestor of the oh, here it is, sir. Like, yeah, like we have the video cassette of Spaceballs the movie. Like, how could it be Space? We're still in the middle of making it. And then they're watching themselves watch them. Like, it feels like direct, like there's a straight line between this joke
sure.
and that joke. And I'm like so here for it. I'm one of those cinephiles that like any type of meta humor, I'm like, I'm here for it. I know there's some people
Yeah.
have a line and they're like, oh, they went too far with it. I'm like, they didn't go far enough. So so the more that the way that this blurs the lines, I think is so fun. I do think it does feel unsatisfying from a narrative perspective a little bit because they're building up to this confrontation and then you're like, ah, just kidding, none of this matters. And then, so I'm always it always
No,
feels a little anticlimactic that way.
no,
Am
but
I crazy?
Rockridge has been saved. Hedley
I
Lamarr is
guess.
killed. Rockridge has been saved. He leaves though because it's gotten boring, but they're all happy and they're
Yeah.
living together and the railroad workers have their homestead. It's okay.
I guess. I
Everything's
guess.
good.
I guess I also wanted to see him stay there too. That's the other thing. I'm like, well, why are
Oh,
you
okay. Yeah.
riding your horse / driving away if now
Because
they've kind of accepted you?
that's what the Western guy does a lot of times though. He
I
has to go to
guess.
the next town. Like he has to go solve their outlaw problem or solve their racism problem or something. I don't know.
I have to, yeah, I have to make my peace with it. It's a process. But yeah, just this being his third directorial entry, it just feels like light. Like I love the producers, I love the 12 Chairs. Like as you mentioned, super underrated movie. I think more people need to check that out. There's a
Yeah.
there's
I
a
was
couple
really
movies.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, there's a couple of films on his filmographer. I'm like, why doesn't anybody talk about this? Like every time I go back and watch it, I'm like, it totally stands out as something that you wish that was more in the zeitgeist. But just like the evolution of his skill behind the camera from the producers to here, it's already like feels like leaps and bounds, and then to the point where you get to the next one where it's just like, oh wow, okay. There's that level of dedication that I think he brings to it that's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Who would you say is the MVP of the film? Do you have a favorite line or moment or scene? Obviously, the Lily Vinched up thing is felt like it's gonna be.
There's this one really small moment that is like for some reason the one I crack up at the most every single time. So like they're trying to delay the outlaws from coming to the fake rock ridge, so they like it's a whole thing. But anyway, they're basically all you need to know is they're trying to delay the outlaws, and they come up with this plan that they're going to set up a toll booth in the middle of the desert to like slow the outlaws down, so they'll all have to go through this toll booth, and it's so absurd because there's like nothing preventing them from going around it. But instead, the like leader of the outlaws, like these bad guys who break all the rules, right? He's like, God damn it! He's like, somebody's got to go back and get a dimes. And for some reason, every time I watch that, I just like lose it. I don't know. It's the absurdity of it. I don't know. It's hilarious. I go crazy. My husband just like laughs at me because I'm laughing so much when I see that part.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, I think I already mentioned the muggers, buggerers, that whole sequence, which I think is so funny. And then to our point earlier about how the movie is very over in its racism is bad kind of mantra. Cleavon Little sneaking away by basically taking himself hostage, and then turning to camera and then, baby, you are so talented, and they are so dumb. All of that stuff I think just works like gangbusters.
Yeah.
We should also mention too that this did get Oscar nominations for best editing and as well as best song for Blazing
Yeah.
Saddles, which was written totally in earnest, which I love that piece
Yes.
of trivia.
No, it's crazy that they got this guy who sang all these cowboy songs for movies, and for the TV show Rawhide to sing it, he had no idea it was just a comedy, like, or a parody, and he just gave it the same gusto that he gave those other things. That's amazing.
It's a great soundtrack. I mean, with that and I'm Tired and all of that, just the score is
Yeah.
so much fun. Um,
Yeah.
it's at one point it was kind of mulled about by Mel Brooks to make this, I think, a Broadway musical or some kind of adaptation. Would you want to
Yeah.
see that? Because he did Young Frankenstein, and
No.
it didn't hit in the same way that the producers did, obviously.
No. I don't like no. I don't think I think it's a cinematic story. I think
Yeah,
there's some stories that are just cinematic. Like, there's some stories that are best told in a book, some stories that are best told in a movie, some stories that are best in a Broadway musical, you know?
yeah.
And some can cross genres, but I don't think all can, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just always fun to kind of look back at his filmography and see the ones that have been adapted into other forms or how their presence in pop culture. History of the World Part One, which you mentioned, or which we mentioned earlier, they did that Hulu show a few years ago.
Yeah,
So
I haven't seen it. Was it like how do you say
it's
it compares?
it's a very mixed bag. If
Mm.
you didn't like the movie, it's probably similar
Mm.
kind of vibes of the movie. But obviously, Young Frankenstein was also a stage production. Producers was a stage
Hmm.
production and then a film.
Yeah.
Even we're getting the new Spaceballs. It's very soon, and then Blazing Saddles. I think the closest it came to being adapted into other media was there was a TV pilot
Yeah, they
called
have
Black
that on my
Bart.
disc for yeah, they have that on my disc for
Yeah,
Blazing Saddles. I did not watch it, but I
I
was like,
haven't
"Whoa,
watched it
look at
either, but
that."
I'm curious to see it at some point now. And then there was a few years ago an animated film that was initially called Blazing Samurai that is about like a little dog who wants to become a samurai, and he's trained by this other he's trained by a cat to kind of become the sheriff of this town, and it is so Blazing Saddles adjacent that it was, like I said, it was initially called Blazing Samurai, that Mel Brooks not only plays a role in it, but also received screenplay credit because it's so
Wow,
heavily based on the Blazing Saddles screenplay. And I
that
think
is interesting.
I don't know if it's on Netflix or Peacock, wherever it is now, but it's
Hmm,
called Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. And it has Michael Cera, Sam Jackson, Michelle Yeoh, Ricky Gervais as the villain, and it's like fine. Like, and my kids liked it. Like a few years ago when
okay.
I put it on for them, it's cute, and I think it's mostly you want to watch it if you love Blazing Saddles and you have like kind of want to see sort of a pop cultural curio of Blazing Saddles related media.
Yeah,
It's weird that exists and nobody knows about it apparently, because I think it came out and did okay and then just immediately disappeared.
sure.
But so yeah, that exists. I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, this is not Blazing Saddles, okay, but I wanna bring up another, revisionist Western that came out, like, actually a few years, prior to Blazing Saddles that I just saw this year, called Buck and the Preacher, which is a Western from 1972 directed by Sidney Poitier. It stars Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, and it also deals with racism in the West. Buck and the Preacher. Really good, really fun. It's not like a comedy parody in this way. There are comedic moments though, and it does revisionist like Western stuff, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know. I think that would also be a really good double feature with this one. So I just wanted to make sure to bring it up
Yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah, I've been
absolutely.
watching more Westerns lately. Like I said, I watched a bunch of the Marlena Dietrich stuff, Destry Rides Again, Rancho Notorious, and I've just been watching, like, the more Westerns I watch, the more I understand Blazing Saddles, which is
Yeah,
really fun.
that's cool. That's cool. It's not a genre that I have ever really delved deep into. I've seen a handful of them over the years, but like I saw the Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, I think like
Yeah, yeah.
last year, which is really good. And also John Wayne, Mel Brooks was like, "Hey, play the Waco Kid," and he's like, "Yeah, no, too dirty for
Yeah.
me."
I don't I like High Noon a lot.
Yeah,
I like some of the weird ones though. So Buck and the Preacher is definitely one that, is a little bit different, a little something different. And
yeah.
Little Big Man, I can't help but thinking of Little Big Man a little bit too, in terms of like there was a revisionist Western movement in the 70s, which Blazing Saddles kind of forms a part of then.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it happens. It's all cyclical, right? We're getting how
Yeah.
many franchises back now, 20, 30 years later? So,
Hmm.
including Spaceballs, 40 years later. Is there anything about Blazing Saddles we haven't mentioned that you wanted to make sure we
Oh my
talked
gosh.
about?
I have all these
Loaded
notes and
question.
like I mean, you could probably just talk about it forever really. I don't know. I just it's I like I said, I think it's the funniest. I think Young Frankenstein is a little bit better, but I think it's his funniest movie joke per capita wise. And even though it has like the problematic elements, like I think it does enough to make up for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like some movies never make up for it by being about something or having meaning or like, just making you giggle so much. But like this one makes up for its problems, in my opinion. I
yeah,
mean, not
yeah.
everyone's going to agree. Not everyone will agree, but
There's substance under the problematic elements. We were like, yeah, okay, but it's easy enough to look past them as opposed to some movies where you're just like, so that's like all that has going for it. Like
yeah, it's
on
just shock value or
Yeah,
something.
basically.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the Zuckers earlier. I did the Naked Gun films for my Franchise Detours podcast. The first one really funny, issues here and there, but holds up. Second one, same thing. You get to that third one, and it's just all like
I don't think I've seen it. Yeah, I don't think
very
I've seen the third
all
one.
aged like milk, like terrible. Every
Yeah, I grew up on yeah.
and I grew up
Go
with it
ahead.
too, but I'm like, I don't know if I could watch this anymore.
Well, I was going to say I grew up with Airplanes. So I grew up kind of
Yeah, I
before
love that
that era
too.
even. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw Top
That shows my
Secret
age.
recently. But I saw Top Secret like in the last couple years for the first time. I hadn't seen Top Secret. So that's yeah. Definitely lots of good stuff. Jennifer Howell, thank you so much for coming to talk about
Oh,
Blazing
yeah.
Saddles.
No, I'm
T-
really glad that thank you for having me on the
yeah, of
show. It's
course.
it's a, it's a pleasure to speak with you and yeah, reminisce about these old movies that have meant something to us.
Well, it's also, like I said, I had started this series and then kind of fell off because life happens. And then now with like Spaceballs, the new one, which is what they're calling it, less than a year away, I was like, I got to get back on this. Like, I've already kind
Right.
of started a ball rolling. It's not like these movies are hard to watch or talk about. So I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. I know that's been a long time coming. I've had that spreadsheet for longer than I would have liked. So I'm glad that we were able to make it happen. Can you tell people where they can find you and your podcast on
Sure.
social media?
Yeah, so like I said, we are Every Romcom. Our website is everyromcom.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Every Romcom Podcast and Blog, on Twitter, at Every Romcom Pod, on Instagram, at Every Romcom. We're still on Blue Sky, but I'm not using it as much anymore, at Every Romcom. And let's see. Oh, and you can also follow me on Letterboxd if you want to. Jen Every Romcom. I literally rate and review every single movie I watch. So like not everybody on Letterboxd can do that. So like if you want to follow a very weird person, there you go.
Yeah, I log everything I watch on Letterbox. I don't rate them all because I so often feel like I need to go revise the ratings, and I feel like that's not fair to the format. So I'm just like, I saw it, I liked it, I didn't like it, and that's about as much as I do. But yeah, so this has been our conversation on Blazing Saddles. Next time, as we've kind of alluded to again and again, we'll be talking 1974's Young Frankenstein, starring Gene Wilder and Peter Boyle and a host of others. As we've said, I think widely considered his best, if not his funniest. And I think it's good
I
to
will
make
look
that
forward to
distinction.
hearing that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Thank
will
you.
totally look forward to hearing that one. Yeah.
That should be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, check out all these movies. Brush up on your Mel Brooks as we're doing along with us as we get closer to he's gonna be 100, but it's like I'm gonna call it a resurgence. Can we say that Mel Brooks having a comeback at this age? Is that you're never too late for another comeback, another chapter of your life? So I'm gonna hope for the best and hope that these movies all sort of get another once over because I think they definitely deserve it. But yeah, that's all we have this time. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next time with Young Frankenstein.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye.